Head towards the Easter holidays and other public holidays, many South Africans might wonder what their rights are in terms of working on these celebrated days. What does the Employment Equity Act actually say about both the rights of employees and employers when it comes to religious and public holidays? Well, joining us now to talk about this is Advocate Tertius Wessels from Strata-G Labour Solutions. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Morning, Leanne. Thanks for having me.
All right, so this is a big conversation and I'm glad that we're having it. So what is the most common confusion between employers and employees when it comes to a public holiday?
All right. I think the biggest confusion is that a lot of people think that public holidays are all religious holidays.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the Public Holidays Act, South Africa only has 13 public holidays, of which 2 are religious holidays, being
Easter and Christmas.
Easter and Christmas,
okay.
Yes. There's actually no laws in our country that regulate religious holidays. It's only public holidays that are recognized. Now, employees cannot be forced to work on public holidays. That's something that has to happen by agreement. And you often find that employers include provisions in the contracts for employees to agree to work on public holidays because it's often an inherent requirement of the job, especially if you look at retail sectors and so on. During the festive seasons, it's very much their key season to make their money.
Yeah, but let's look at, I mean, we're talking Christian holidays, but I mean, you know, they're very different holidays for different religions. I mean, if we are focusing in on religious holidays, if you're Muslim, you've got different holidays. If you're Jewish, you've got different holidays, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And they generally, and there's always this argument, have to put in leave to celebrate those holidays or get the time off. What does the law say about that?
Right. So the Employment Equity Act specifically doesn't deal with religious holidays and it doesn't deal with public holidays. The only thing that the Employment Equity Act does is that it prohibits unfair discrimination based on arbitrary grounds, which includes religion. So in circumstances where you are of Muslim faith or Jewish faith, you can be required to apply for annual leave or even in some instances unpaid leave, but you are not by law entitled to receive paid time off from work just because you're practicing a certain faith.
Yeah.
The same with Christians. If you look, if Christmas falls on a Sunday as an example, Christians still practice Christmas on the Sunday. The mere fact that the following Monday is a public holiday is to the benefit of everybody ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, you look at now this upcoming public holiday that we're going to be having, and that of course is Good Friday.
Yes.
Now that's blatantly a religious holiday, and
Yes.
for a Christian holiday. So again, there's that discrepancy between holidays.
Yes, so what you will find is that often some Christians do, even though it's their religious holiday, that they are required to work on that particular day because it's an inherent requirement of their job. For example, if you look at a pastor, will work on that particular day. If you look at a doctor, may be required to work on that particular day. So whilst that Easter Friday is a religious holiday, it is also a recognized public holiday in terms of the Public Holidays Act.
Okay, so it's getting a bit interesting, and I think that's where I suppose people's emotions get involved.
Yes.
If you are not necessarily, embarking on whatever it is, a religious journey on the Good Friday, you could be at work and then take that holiday at a later stage. But most businesses are closed, so you're not working.
Yes, and what you often find is that a lot of businesses have recognized the fact that we have such a diverse culture and religions within our workplace. So they are very accommodative of different religions. So you will find that on a Friday, for example, between 12 and 2, those employees of Muslim faith are allowed to take time from work in order to attend mosque, which is not necessarily a benefit that Christians would receive. Now, one could easily argue that that is discrimination based on religion, but it could be justified discrimination if you look at it in an objective sense.
So let's get a little deeper now. So that's the religious aspect out of the way. Let's talk what the Employment Equity Act actually says regarding working on a public or a religious holiday. Do you get paid double? How does it work?
Okay, so the Employment Equity Act itself doesn't deal with the payment for working on public holidays. The only legislation that we have is the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, which specifically deals with payment. And we also have different industries or sectors. If you look at the motor industry or the metal industry or mining industry, they have a bargaining council main agreement, or there might be a sectorial determination that regulates payment. The normal rule is that it's paid time off from work. If you do work on that particular day, you will be entitled to receive double your ordinary.
So you should get double if you work on those holidays.
Yeah, you should receive double, but the Public Holidays Act also makes provision for you to exchange that day for another day. So if I work on Easter Friday, I could arrange with my employer to exchange it for another day off. Effectively, you still get paid for 2 days.
Even if you're a freelancer, and now I'm asking because I'm asking as a freelancer myself, and I know a lot of people working here are freelancers too. If you're working on a public holiday, are you entitled to these rights as a freelancer?
Yeah. So the basic conditions of Employment Act applies to all employees.
Yeah.
There's no differentiation in as far as it's concerned. It does make certain reference to senior managerial employees or employees earning over a certain threshold per annum that gets determined by the Minister of Labour, that their payment is not necessarily double. That is something that would be negotiated with the employer in the event of a person having to work on a public holiday.
If an employer does not comply with the Act, what can employees do? What rights do I have?
Well, look, there's different recourse available to an employee. Normally, when it comes to an issue with regards to payment, matters are referred to the Department of Labour, who comes and does an inspection, issue non-compliances, and the employer that is held to be in contravention of the law can be issued with non-compliance orders, and fines can be imposed on them. Employees can also refer matters to the CCMA or relevant bargaining council or dispute resolution forums in order to get the relief that they actually seeking.
Interesting. Well, I think you've given us some. You've certainly given me some food for thought. I don't think my boss is going to be too happy because I'm going to walk out here with a much better educated mind when it comes to renegotiating contracts. But I think what you're saying is vital, and we need to be armed with this knowledge as to what our rights are, because people tend to forget sometimes in those desperate times where you say, listen, I'm just so glad I've got a job at this point because things are so harsh. It doesn't matter what you do for me, but you've got to protect yourself from exploitation.
You have to. And I think it's very important for employees and employers to be upfront and have these kind of discussions already at the interview stage. Be honest about your religious beliefs and what is important for you and how things will work, so that you do know what you're letting yourself in for when you go work for a prospective employer.
Awesome. Thanks for talking to us here. Advocate Tertius Wessels from Strata-G Labour Solutions. I hope that helped you just with regard to what you're entitled to as an employer and an employee when it comes to public and religious holidays here in South Africa. Let's take a break. We'll have more for you after this. Stay tuned.